Disclaimer: some words used in this documentary may be deemed offensive.
Let me quickly tell you the story, the history of this Miss Indian American project here in Sheridan, Wyoming. Right after World War II, I came back from Europe fighting for freedom and brotherhood of men throughout the world, only to find right here in Sheridan, Wyoming, a town of hatred. They don't like Indians. They have signs on their store doors, no Indians or dogs allowed. After having fought 3 years in Germany, trying to make America a good place to live, I come back to find a place right here in my own Crow country. Hatred, bigotry.
In the early 1900s, life as a Native American was very difficult. They suffered much discrimination and were refused basic human rights. Through much struggle and determination, however, Indians eventually gained their rights and were respected as American citizens. They fought for their rights, and even though Native Americans faced racial discrimination, barriers began to be broken when Native Americans participated in the Sheridan Wyo Rodeo Queen competition, started the Miss Indian America pageant, and were able to participate and become part of the Sheridan Wyo Rodeo through the Indian relay races. Indians were misunderstood because of their culture and their adversity to want to move to reservations. Their land had been taken away, and they had been forced to live on reservations, like Crow and Piikani, for example. In an attempt to Americanize the Indians, their children were sent to boarding schools, their braids were cut off, and they were prohibited from speaking in their native tongue. So what kind of discrimination have you faced as a child in school?
Well, I remember one incident when I was in high school back in the 80s. That's back when the Crow language was pretty strong. And I remember one incident in high school where we had a math teacher, and she had a friend there, classmate, who the teacher was going fast over the lesson. She was talking fast, kind of writing fast on the board. And here, my classmate asked one of the other classmates in Crow, darn, she's going too fast. I wish she would go a little bit slower so I could understand what she's saying. And the teacher stood up and said, "What did you say? Are you talking about me?"
White settlers thought as though they had received fair payment for their land, even though many had their water rights taken away and their houses left without water and or electricity. Indians were called many very offensive terms, such as prairie niggers, redskins, or red niggers. Businesses and parks even had signs that said, "No Indians or dogs allowed," or "No Indians served here," written on them, as stated by William Bigville in his book, Piikani, Land of the Natural Flow. This was very difficult for the Indians to handle, and many did not survive. Though some white settlers treated Indians with kindness and respect, many others treated them horribly and quite inhumanely, and even took advantage of them. Some white settlers even tried to enforce their beliefs upon the Indians with their religious practices. In spite of all this discrimination, a young 16-year-old barrel racer Crow woman from Wyola, Montana, by the name of Lucy Yellow Mule, entered the 1951 Sheridan, Wyoming Rodeo Queen Contest. She dared to enter a competition that in the past only whites had entered. This year's winner would be selected by an applause meter, and the crowd would determine the winner. She rode her horse all around with expertise, coming to a near-perfect stop. The crowd went wild, and by crowd approval, Lucy Yellow Mule became the first Native American to win the Rodeo Queen title. This started a campaign to try and help change the effects of anti-Indian prejudice in Sheridan. Lucy Yellow Mule paved the way for the Miss Indian America pageant by attending many meetings in Sheridan. They included the veterans groups, women's clubs, civic groups, and gatherings at people's homes. Because of these things, Sheridan citizens started changing their attitude. Signs came down, and theaters, restaurants, and hotels started letting them in. The All-American Indian Day and National Miss Indian America pageant started in 1953 in Sheridan, Wyoming. Over 3,000 Indians came to Sheridan, and Arlene Wesley became the first Miss Indian America. Howard Sinclair, who Dr. Joe Medicine Crow said was a great humanitarian, was the founder and newspaper columnist who wanted this to be an interracial project in human relations. This pageant gave young Native women a place to influence and advocate for all Native people. Sheridan in the 1950s was not known for its love of Indians, but by having the pageant in town, businesses realized that it was great for the economy. It gave a boost to the participants as well, as letting the community, be aware of the cultural differences. The Indian queens were ambassadors meeting with dignitaries, politicians, Hollywood stars, and the common people. It was a long process that continued with the pageant until 1983, when the Miss Indian America pageant was moved to North Dakota. In the early 1990s, another extreme sport was added to the Sheridan Wild Rodeo, called the Indian Relay Races. This event allowed Native tribes to bring back a tradition from their heritage. The Indians used to ride horses they had stolen back home. When a horse was tired, they jumped on the back of a new one and kept riding. The rodeo needed some excitement to up their attendance. Because this event involves a rider, 3 support people that help to control the horses, and 3 horses, it gets wild and crazy as the teams jump on horses and race around the track. They do this with 3 horses, making a total of 3 laps around the track. It is an event full of chaos, excitement, and wrecks due to moving horses and riders jumping on and off the backs of them, while the stands of people are on their feet cheering wildly. This event brings the Native traditions for the country to see while preserving their culture. The riders even wear traditional paint and outfits and also paint their horses. The teams have a great amount of pride in themselves and their horses. It has grown into a very competitive competition with a $50,000 purse. The cultural changes from these events have had some powerful effects. Some of these include pride in themselves and their traditions, helping Natives see that there is life outside the reservation, encouraging young people to get an education, and teaching the young people from all races that communication is important. How is it different now for your children versus when you were a child?
Nowadays, the difference is your generation has more, your eyes and ears are more open to other cultures. It's about cultures accepting each other.
Travels of the Miss Indian America queens led to improving relations through a vast amount of people. Lucy Yellowmule and Sarah Johnson accepted Freedom Awards for the city of Sheridan. Having the Miss Indian America reunions have continued to strengthen ties made through the pageants. This summer, all of the former Miss Indian America queens will present a statue of an Indian queen to the city of Sheridan. The Indian relay teams are going to cities that have never seen Native Americans before, which also continues the interest in communication between people. In fact, the National Indian Relays will be in Casper, Wyoming this summer. In conclusion, despite all the racial discrimination that the Native Americans had to endure, many of these barriers have been broken due to participation in the Miss Sheridan Wyoming Rodeo Queen Contest, the Miss Indian America pageant, and the Indian relay races that were in Sheridan, Wyoming. It is important to recognize its success and highlight the important events that the Native American culture and its population has to offer in the effort to eradicate all racial discrimination.